Nick, if you had to give up your whole life except for your wife right now and go and live in another place in the entire planet, live there. I mean, like, you're going to have to find a job or, in your case, start a Krusty Krab 2. Where would it be?
And I can't know anyone there?
No, you can know somebody there.
Oh, okay. Well, I've got family in Michigan. A bunch of family in Michigan. I'd love to be there.
I feel like you just settled right there. Nothing against you, Michigan, but I mean, it's not that far away.
Redding, California. I think that's where I came from, and I love that place. But if I was picking a state where no one else lives...
It could be another country, too.
I think I'd pick Tennessee. Another country would be cool, but like the amount of emotional effort just to learn a new language while also having to like find a job and stuff, I think I'd pick Tennessee.
Tennessee's a good choice, and that would have been high on my list as well, but I could have this wrong, so fact check me. Always important to fact check us, by the way.
True.
I had heard from somebody credible that Tennessee just got rid of their open field doctrine, which is what allows conservation officers to, like, if they sense that there's poaching going on or something, or some heinous crime against nature, they can, without like getting your permission, they can go onto private property and make sure that laws are being obeyed, which is important. It's an important law, right? Because otherwise the only place that would ever be enforced would be on public land.
Yeah.
And the vast majority, especially in a state like Iowa here, vast majority of wildlife exists on private land, just because most of our state is owned private land. But in Tennessee, they probably have quite a bit more public land.
Oh yeah, because they've got the Smoky Mountains.
Right. But I bet
the Eastern Mountains, as people call them.
But anyways, I thought that was an interesting thing, that could really become a problem for the quality of their wildlife, especially if it becomes that hard for law enforcement officers to make sure people are, it kind of undermines the Lacey Act is really what it does.
Oh yeah.
Well, not the I shouldn't say it that way. Not the Lacey Act specifically, but like
the spirit of the Lacey Act.
Right. This idea of where we're legally managing for population health these species.
Yeah, I don't like that. And it's not a big enough reason for me to not move to Tennessee.
Nick's not worried about the deer hunting.
Well, no, they are really. I am worried about it.
A lot of people don't know this about Tennessee, but it is a trophy whitetail state, which is kind of rare because you really don't see that much in the South. But they are a great.
But they're pretty. State. I guess they're South. I don't, because I've spent a lot of time in Georgia, Alabama, and Tennessee. I see Missouri as more southern than Tennessee at this point. I think, also because Tennessee's so desirable to go to that so much other culture has been brought there.
Do you hear what he just like dissed all the South there? It's so desirable to go there. I don't consider.
There's some great places. Yeah. But I did have a friend. Oh man, I'll just tell the story. I had a friend who lives in Alabama. He knew someone who shot.
Does their first name start with the letter C?
Yeah. So the friend is Caleb, but Caleb knows someone who shot a ginormous buck. And I'm like, oh my goodness, dude, like, tell me about it. Send me a photo. There was a 128. And I just had to be like, oh man, dude, that's so cool. Like, that's so amazing. It'd be like, you can flick your toes. That's not true. Whitetail hunting is much harder.
3 of those on my way to work this morning.
On the side of the road. Oh man, I've never shot a 128 or anything bigger, so I don't want to take away. But it was like, it was a big deal to their town.
Yeah. A 128 in some places in our country would be very impressive. You know, just because of how limited opportunities are.
Welcome back to the Prairie Farm Podcast, Coffee Time Wednesday. I'm your favorite host, Nicholas Leary, with your favorite co-host and grandfather, Ken Boucher. And favorite co-host to the co-host, and also our grandfather in spirit, and the man always telling us to follow our budgets, Riley Rosendahl.
Yeah, he's wearing one of those T-shirts right now. You can't see it, but it says "Follow your dreams." It's X'd out, and it just says "budget" underneath.
Follow your budget.
Is that a real T-shirt? I need that T-shirt so bad. Oh man, you know what
That's from like the 2005 era T-shirts where like they'd write little phrases on them. That's what I thought of in a recent episode where you're talking about throwaway clothes like T-shirts and stuff. They make like weird phrases on it or whatever. Like I woke up for this, or you know.
The little like cat. I'm over those sarcastic T-shirts. The all I do is yell at people and work hard, and I've already worked hard today. I'm like, that's a stupid shirt. Now, like, you're not going to get any human connection out of that. So last night. So okay, first of all, won't lie to you guys. We are recording this podcast a day and a half later than we should be recording it. We're going to get it up in time. We're behind. Kent has literally wrestled equipment to the ground all day. Anything you could imagine breaking down has broken down.
Yes.
So we're going to skip straight to our topic. And next week, we'll get to a question. We appreciate everyone who is sending the questions. Please keep them coming. social@theprairiefarm.com. You know what questions we haven't really gotten? Is stuff about whitetail. Well, a little bit about pheasant, but we really haven't. And I've been shocked about that. But I think it's because anyone who has a question about whitetail goes straight to Skip Sly on the Iowa Whitetail Forum.
And we don't blame him.
And I don't blame you. Yeah, you know what's up. So last night, I ate taquitos for the first time since I was in like 5th grade. You guys know what those are?
Yeah.
Wait. Taquitos or Takis?
Taquitos.
Because
Takis.
Takis are the chips, right?
Yeah, Takis are like the Cheeto kind of.
Okay, so
spicy
taquitos
Cheetos.
are like the deep fried little cigar looking.
Yep.
Yeah.
So what happened was my wife was
I think you're
grocery
supposed to
shopping.
smoke those.
Well, I ate like 6 of them. I'll tell you what, you're not supposed to eat them because I felt terrible afterwards.
Yeah.
So I'm not here to tell you if you should or shouldn't buy them. I'll just tell you my experience. Monday night, my wife's going grocery shopping. She comes back, I got taquitos. She's like, I haven't had them in forever. And she got like queso with them and everything. So last night we were like, it was like 10:30. We had just finished working on the basement of our coffee shop.
Taquitos at 10:30.
Yeah. That's a death sentence.
Well, we drank coffee at like 5:30.
Oh man.
And
coffee and taquitos, my stomach would be boiling.
well, we had to work with like insulation all night, so it was like we had to drink coffee to get through the evening.
Do you have Tums for dessert?
No, I've
Good
been
news.
going no
It's
sugar.
a smoothie kind.
So we're like, we'll bust out the taquitos, and I get like 6 in, and I'm like, I don't feel good. I'm like breaking out into sweat, sitting in the air conditioning. I told my wife, I need a shower. I literally got up and went and took a shower after eating 6 taquitos.
I still don't feel better.
So I'm not saying those are connected to our topic today, but our topic today is SB 25. What does that mean to you guys?
Senate Bill 25.
Senate Bill 25 of what state? Kent already knows, Riley.
Texas.
Texas.
Yeah,
Right,
I heard
you guys talking about it. I cheated.
Okay. So
Come on, you could have played along and be like, Rhode Island.
SB 25 has 2 major categories to it. One, Kent actually put me onto this. He said, I saw this Instagram post, but please make sure it's real. So I came with a bunch of sources, and it is, in fact, real for the most part. The post said, like, Texas is banning these species, we're tired. These ingredients, or they got to put a warning label. It's not real. There really isn't talk about banning them. It's just the warning label piece. And the warning is going to say, warning, this product contains an ingredient that is not recommended for human consumption by the appropriate authority in Australia, Canada, the European Union, and the United Kingdom.
But go
Texas
ahead and eat it.
legislature, SB 25. Bill
Wow.
text. That's what these companies will have to put on. And just like Kent was saying, the big talk is, so this is happening in 2027. It goes into effect January 1. And if Texas is a huge market for these companies. I mean, Austin, Houston, Dallas, Fort Worth. What's the other one in far, largely Hispanic?
El Paso.
Yeah.
San Antonio.
I mean, just
How
these
big is
giant
Corpus
cities.
Christi?
Big, but a lot smaller than the other ones. It's like a tourist destination, basically.
There's so many huge cities in Texas.
We're about to get some angry Texas comments.
I think
I've never been to Texas.
I think Texas and California have like between them have like 10 or 11 of the biggest 15 cities in the United States.
I believe
or something
that.
like
I
that.
definitely believe
I
that.
mean, huge population base. So these companies like, I don't know, let's say Takis was one of them. I don't know what companies have these specific ingredients in them in their products.
Let's be careful there. We don't know that Takis has.
We don't know that Takis, but let's say
The legal
Takis
team
may
is
or may
draft
not, or Taquitos. Do
We'll
they
say
make?
let's say Nicholas Lirio's home batch pizza rolls. Let's go that route.
Okay. So how about this? Frito-Lay's. That one was actually cited as being one.
Okay.
Frito-Lay's.
Okay, that works.
So Frito-Lay's, do they make a totally separate packaging for Texas? I mean, the infrastructure to do that seems simple, but when you're doing millions and millions and millions of them, or do they put this warning label on all of them that they're putting out in the United States, which from my own personal opinion would be awesome if all those warning labels. What people don't realize is when like a company like Google, they'll switch like one tiny thing on their website and it'll make a huge difference worth millions of dollars or influencing millions of people. And it'll be like something that's like 10 pixels different because of the psychology. So if there are warning labels on it, I could imagine millions less of these products being bought. I don't care that these companies are selling them. I'm more interested that we as humans aren't buying them and consuming them. I know that sounds kind of lopsided, but
well, do you think? Yeah, I mean, right now people are already eating them.
Oh yeah.
Do you think that'll change human behavior if that label does end up on the packaging?
Yeah.
You think it would?
Not 100%, but I could see like 20%.
Sure.
Or it could send people on a like, okay, this warning sign. Like what else? You know, it could send them on a journey of health, and I could see that happening for more than a few people.
The way I interpreted this, so it's interesting. You're going the pathway that you have. It sounds like you're working under the assumption that these companies will just shrug and say, "All right, let's put the warning label on there." I kind of took it as these companies would be like, "We can't put a, not fit for human consumption warning level on our food.
Yeah,
that'll kill us." So I kind of took it as it could lead to these food processors changing the recipes.
Maybe, but I think you greatly underestimate.
Well, but that's
addiction.
already happened in our lifetime. It happened with trans fats.
Oh yeah, you're right.
All sorts of stuff used to have trans fats in it. And you, as a child of the 90s, and maybe Riley's old enough, I can tell you right now that a Little Debbie right now ain't nothing compared to what a Little Debbie was in 1994.
Those are the good
What is a trans fat?
It's just a manufactured fat.
Oh, okay.
So it doesn't occur in nature that affected flavor.
Interesting.
At least that's how I've understood it.
So what's up with the whole thing of like, the big companies paid to blame everything on trans fat and instead of sugar, because sugar is the real culprit.
Well, they don't say trans fat; they just say fat. So remember, like the, this is fat free or whatever labeling.
Yeah,
that was like probably really when you were a kid.
I was really little, but I do remember it being a big deal.
So that was in response to that, like, oh man, I don't want to be fat, and it says this food has a lot of fat in it, like that, but that's not a direct correlation.
Yeah. So, Riley, you have any thoughts before I?
Well, I would say that my guess is they're gonna change ingredients in the long term. I don't see any. Everyone talks about brand now. Do you want to be the company that sells food and says this is not food on the front?
Well, it just makes me think of like handling like chemicals. What I mean? Like when you're handling like, let's say, herbicide or something, you'll see a warning label on there of some kind that tells you, hey, don't drink this or don't get this in your eyes. I mean, you're now taking food and almost putting it in the same.
Yeah, it's no longer in the category of food. It's almost in like this weird consumption category.
I agree with you, Riley. I think that it will lead to, and maybe I'm just too optimistic here, but I think it will lead to a change in the.
So You're probably right. I'm thinking like first the warning labels will show up, then humans will start to care about it, then they'll change. That's my guess on how it'll. So
it could happen. Yeah.
I also think more than we think it does right now, this has giant ramifications for farmers. If anytime you make a major change in the food supply, farmers will be impacted for either good or bad, and I could see this causing a big push in more healthy and organic and certified naturally grown, like Jill Bebout and some of those farmers. They couldn't handle, not in an insulting way, but like if there was immediately a 40% increase in their stuff being bought, like there just wouldn't be enough.
Right. Yeah.
And so I could see that being a really good thing. Maybe even people ripping out corn and beans because they found out, I can make a lot of money selling broccoli and tomatoes. Yeah. I think that would be really cool. Just the, like, it may seem a tiny difference, but like on the whole supply chain, I'm excited for. Some of the big ones that they have that are requiring is Red 40 is the most popular one, but then like BHA, which is a preservative, and they said agents like titanium dioxide. And I thought about, I should look into what agents are. And then I didn't.
The paper is multiplied.
Yeah. So you guys have any idea what that is?
I think it's just an active chemical. So it's something that it's a chemical that's been added to create a certain effect within the overall compound.
Either coloring or some sort of preserving action, maybe.
Right.
Yeah. I think this is good news, and I'm like our resident libertarian, leave me alone, don't make rules. But it's like I compare a lot of things to companies, but it's like a company who rips off its first few customers to make a few more dollars, and then but then its reputation is absolutely crap, and so it falls to the wayside and it can't last. That's basically what feeding your own population, your own market, like the people who buy your stuff over and over again, that's what feeding them garbage is. Yeah, it's not going to make a difference this quarter or maybe even this year. In fact, it might even increase stuff because of addiction and things like that. But there's going to be a pushback. And I think this is the pushback. And now all these companies aren't set up for the healthier products, right? The healthier products that are coming. And that's why there's these giant brands being made like Cliff Bar, which is basically a candy bar, but a little healthier. You know what I mean? So just those incremental healthy things. But there's a second big piece of this bill, and it's education. So 30 minutes of physical activity a day for schools, not like 90 minutes every 2 or 3 days. It's at least 30 minutes a day. And then nurses are required to take nutrition classes. And I believe all colleges have to offer nutrition classes. I think was the other big one. But it was like, and high schools have to offer like a nutrition, like a health science class, but specifically for nutrition. And I think that's awesome. Like to get that into the general intelligence to have, Yeah,
I think a lot of times when you look at yourself or others who are unhealthy, right, physically unhealthy, you think it's like a willful negligence or just even a choice. Yeah, I'm gonna eat poorly on purpose because that's what I like doing. And I'm sure that is some of the case, but I think a lot of it is just people don't know. They don't know what good food is because it's so hard to come by anymore, and it's so easy to come by stuff that's not good for you. And a lot of times the stuff that's not good for you is cheaper. A lot of times it tastes a little better, because you're hitting, up front, then some terrible film on the roof of your mouth afterwards. Not so much, but there's a lot to it that I think is beyond just people making poor choices. I think they need to be re-educated onto, this is what I need to have in my diet, and this is what would make me feel better, and this is what would make me live longer and able to do more things that I really care to do, instead of just saying, oh, this is what, we get all of our suppers from the frozen food aisle,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, we're in the midst of food revolution. You look at the 70s and 80s, it was all about value. How much can I get
Yeah.
for how little, you know?
Right, yep,
And then that
quantity.
changed to, you know, now we're talking about whole foods and we're talking about, you know, how much can we save in medical bills by eating real food instead
Yeah.
of just something that shoots out of a factory tube somewhere,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah,
It's
so much of it was just like invention. Like,
Yeah.
you know, oh, look, you know, there's this TV dinners. Did you see what they came out with? Oh,
Yeah.
did you see what Hostess just came out with? They used to just have zingers. Now they got, you know, ding dongs or whatever, you know?
well,
And it was just like, it was in this celebratory way of, look, I wonder what they're going to come up with next.
yeah.
And now, and then also on top of that, compounding with that is, oh man, I have no energy. I feel blah all the time. They got this new medication. You know, it's
Yeah.
like we constantly are
Spiraling down.
yeah,
instead
we're
of
like,
spiraling up.
but looking towards this new invented thing to make it all better. But in reality, the things that we need to feel better were invented when the world was created.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you want any proof, listen to last week's episode with Kelly Kincher.
Yep.
What a guy. What an episode.
Yep.
Truly incredible.
Yeah, when we were sitting with Kelly, I was thinking to myself, this is a guy who's going to, I don't want to jinx anything here, but he's going to live a very long time and be very active for a very long time.
Oh, yeah. Because you could tell he was like older, but he was like filled with energy. He was like shaking the whole time.
Yeah, I bet you Kelly could just get up and run a couple miles. I don't know if he's a runner or not, but just like looking at him, he was very, very, very good health.
Crawling out of the truck with my Quick Trip coffee, I felt much more lethargic than
Where do I
he.
put this, Kelly?
Yeah.
Ken went home and in his dream journal crossed out all of his dreams and goals and just wrote Kelly
I want to
Kincher.
be like Kelly.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
his goal. It just wants to be Kelly Kincher. Oh, man. Well, I think this is a step in the right direction. I think it'd be cool if Iowa did something that Iowa is doing. Our good friend Beth Hoffman, she didn't ask me to share this. She's running a podcast. I believe it's with the Iowa Food Coalition. Really great 15-minute episodes. Very well informed. It's very journalistic. So it's not interview style. It's a lot of information very quickly. She does a good job of fleshing it out and actually getting to the root of so far, what I've listened to is a lot of food and politics and how they go together. But like Kelly said, like our agriculture is driven by policy at this point. And so I'd love to separate it. But the only way you get to separate your food consumption from policy is by having a really good garden, being part of a really good food hub or something of the like. So we really appreciate you guys, and we will talk to you again next time.